Look, Peter Dutton, if there was an Olympic sport in avoiding questions and avoiding journalists, he'd be a gold medalist. You know, Keith's avoidance of the question that you put to him there is only a bronze medal contender. You go up to the Canberra Press Gallery and you say, why didn't you put this to Peter? Why didn't you put that to Dutton? They say, we can't find him, literally weeks without fronting up. It's time, though, with this, that he fronted up and manned up and actually answered the questions instead of avoiding them. And I'll make 2 points. On the property issues, the core point is, yeah, sure, people buy and sell properties. Good luck to him. He's built a property empire. But it is absolutely legitimate to expect someone who's going to be the Prime Minister of this country in his mind, who's contending to that, to be held to the same standard as everyone else, which means declare things properly and answer the questions. I mean, no one knows how much Peter Dutton's worth. It all seems to be tied up in family trusts and companies and shadowy things. Is it tens of millions, hundreds of millions?
That is nonsense, grubby stuff.
These are entirely legitimate. These are entirely legitimate questions, Keith. And the fact is, as the media showed this morning, it's not once. He's got a pattern of failing to declare property interests, entirely legitimate. But I'll take the fundamental point about the shares. I want you to cast your mind back. Many of your listeners, Pete, would remember just how scared and anxious and worried Australians were during the GFC. People literally thought that the global financial system was going to collapse. The opposition of the day got privileged, confidential briefings. Now, maybe there's answers to the questions as to why suddenly out of the blue, Peter Dutton, with no history of buying bank shares, just thought he'd buy some bank shares and make large profits. But they are legitimate questions. What shares did he buy? How much did he buy them for? Did he have access to privileged confidential information or people who did? Was he on the Shadow Expenditure Review Committee? Was he in the confidential briefings that the government gave the opposition of the day before the banks were bailed out? He hasn't answered these questions, and that's my point.
OK, well, on the topic of shares, I mean, anyone who trades shares would know that you buy prized bank stocks when they're low, which it appears is what he's done here. You don't need top secret data to tell you that. And then once they're high again, because they inevitably recover. So isn't that just a smart investment, aside from being someone who is in opposition?
Well, it was certainly a smart investment, but these are legitimate questions. I mean, he wants to turn up, when he does pop up in the media and kick people while they're down and dump scorn on other people, but when there's an actual legitimate question, did he receive privileged information? Was he on the Shadow ERC? Was he in those briefings in 2009 in February that the opposition got before the bank bailouts? This bloke didn't have a history of trading bank shares. You're right, lots of mum and dads buy bank shares. Generally, they don't just buy and sell bank shares. I'll make that point. They're considered the blue chip stock that you hold for a long time. But for whatever reason, Peter Dutton decided to buy bank shares, make a profit and sell them while the opposition was receiving privileged information. I make the point, Keith's dismissal of this will be Labor dirt unit. These are legitimate questions if you want to be the Prime Minister of the country. He really needs to hold himself to the same standard he holds everyone else to.
Let's get your response to that, Keith.
Well, when Julian says legitimate questions, what he really means is a dog whistle accusing the opposition leader of insider trading. If that's what he's accusing of, say it. Say it out loud, Julian. Don't just do it in a dog whistle, because that's all this is. We were in opposition at the time, and you're accusing him of having privileged information. I'd love to see the evidence that you have of that, Julian. Love to see the evidence.
You're not answering the question, Keith.
Is that, Julian, is that what the Labor Party is alleging?
Come on the television and answer the question.
That it is insider trading, Julian? Is that what the Labor Party is trying to get at here?
Look, I'll make the point again. These are legitimate questions, and I'll put the challenge to Keith. Do you think your leader should come out and actually answer the question?
I think you just didn't answer that question. You didn't answer that legitimate question, Julian.
Why does... No.
Are you accusing the opposition leader of insider trading?
The guy who wants to be the Prime Minister
because you know it's defamatory to say
These are legitimate questions.
No. Legitimate questions doesn't hide a grubby dog whistle.
Do you know? This is an absolutely... See, I mean, they're not prepared to answer the questions. They want to throw mud at everyone else. This guy wants to be the Prime Minister of the country. Do you think he should answer the legitimate questions which journalists are trying to put to him? He runs away and won't do a press conference.
Gents, we are out of time, unfortunately. Love to keep it going, but I've got to go. Good to see you as always.